Hi guys and welcome to Fandom Newbie. My name is Shruti and today I'm going to be doing a review slash analysis of the new Shadow and Bone TV show. So if you guys follow me on my Instagram, you'll know that last weekend I kind of binge read the entire Shadow and Bone trilogy, like the book series. And I have quite a lot of thoughts about the book series as well as about the TV show. So yeah, that's why I'm making this video. This video is basically going to be divided into 4 parts. The first part, I'm going to talk about what the Shadow and Bone universe is like and what the story is about. The second part is going to be like a pros and cons of the book series. The third part, I'm going to go into why I think that this adaptation of the book series is one of the smartest adaptations I have ever seen. And lastly, I'm going to talk about some of the not so good parts about the TV show and places where they could have improved. So yeah, there's a lot to cover. So without further ado, let's just get started. So the Shadow and Bone series takes place in a fictional fantasy world called the Grishaverse. And more specifically, like the first trilogy, that is the Grisha trilogy, takes place in a country called Ravka. Now, Ravka is home to 2 types of citizens. So you have the Grisha, who are people who have these elemental powers, which means that they can manipulate certain elements like water, air, fire, shadow, even the sun. They have the power to manipulate these elements and use them to their advantage. The second type of citizens in Ravka are the Oskazatsia, which is basically just means like other than Grisha. So these are like the normal human beings who don't have any like magical or powerful abilities. Now, the Oskazatsia form what is known as the first army, and the Grisha form the second army. The leader of the second army is this extremely powerful, extremely charismatic Grisha, who is also a shadow summoner, and he's called the Darkling. The reason why Ravka needs 2 armies is because Ravka is at constant war with its 2 neighboring countries. So in the north you have Fierda, and in the south you have Shuhan. And Ravka, to begin with, is already very weak, and the reason for that is the Shadowfold, also called the Unsea. The Shadowfold or the Unsea is this huge stretch of darkness that is filled with monsters that attack anyone who try to cross it. And this Shadowfold literally splits Ravka into half. So you have West Ravka, which has access to the sea and it has its port, so it thrives a little bit more. But then you have East Ravka that's completely cut off from any essential supplies or weapons that come into West Ravka because of its ports. It's completely cut off from all of that because of the Shadowfold. And that is what's resulted in like Ravka becoming a lot more weakened and more susceptible to enemy raids from these neighboring countries. Enter our main character Alina Starkov, who during her mission across the fold, she discovers that she has these hidden powers where she can actually summon light, and this power might be the actual key to destroying the fold completely and reuniting Ravka. To be honest, this series had a lot of potential. It had the potential to be like this extremely well-developed, extremely rich, high fantasy series that was just amazing. But I feel like a lot of that potential was really wasted in this series because Leigh Bardugo heavily depended on a whole bunch of YA fantasy tropes that were done in previous book series, and she just recycled those tropes to give us kind of an unoriginal story. Now, the tropes that Leigh Bardugo used in this book series include the Chosen One trope. She included like the classic love triangle that exists in almost every YA fantasy. And she also included like this typical female protagonist who doesn't really believe in herself and who doesn't consider herself worthy enough of like the attention that she's getting. And it's getting old. And the thing is, I can't even blame Leigh Bardugo because Shadow and Bone was released in 2012, and just the previous year, 3 extremely crucial young adult fantasy books released. The first one being, I think, City of Fallen Angels, which was a part of the Mortal Instruments series. The second one was Clockwork Princess, which was a part of the Infernal Devices series. And thirdly, there was Divergent. 3 young adult book series, which again heavily relied on a whole bunch of young adult fantasy tropes, all which went on to become huge successes. So of course Leigh Bardugo would want to recycle these tropes, and she would want to kind of like do a cookie cutter trope filled young adult fantasy book because that is what the audience wanted. And to be fair to her, she succeeded because Shadow and Bone went on to become a huge success and has sold a whole bunch of copies and was also a New York Times bestseller. But as a fantasy lover, I still had issues with this series. And to be fair, it's not a bad book series. Like, if I have to give a very critical, honest opinion, it is an average series. It's not really good, it's not really bad, it's just like somewhere in the middle at like a 3-star rating. But I feel like it had the potential to be something absolutely spectacular. And the reason for this is that the world in which this Shadow and Bone trilogy is set in is just so interesting. There's like so much potential for there to be like political intrigue, political tension. There's so much potential for there to be like really a rich history, a rich lore to the religions that are there within the Grisha universe. But Leigh Bardugo just never developed it to reach the potential where it could. The second thing that was going for the series were its characters. Some of the characters in this book series are just so interesting. Like, again, they had the potential to be like these extremely interesting, morally gray characters that are just like that could have been such amazing heroes or villains. And again, like, they were just not explored enough by Leigh Bardugo in this book series. And that's where the TV show comes in. The Shadow and Bone TV show creator, Eric Heisserer, I think that's how you pronounce his name, but he's the one who saw this potential within the entire Shadow and Bone universe, and it was his vision to create a TV show which was kind of like a crossover between Game of Thrones and Ocean's 11. And that to me is just absolutely genius. By this time also, Leigh Bardugo had gone on to write a whole bunch of other books within the Grishaverse, most notably the Six of Crows duology. And I feel that Leigh Bardugo realized some of her mistakes that she had done in Shadow and Bone, and she kind of fixed them in the Six of Crows duology. Because in the Six of Crows duology, she did focus a little bit more on political intrigue. She did focus on giving these characters really good character development. So my feeling is that Eric Heisserer's vision of creating kind of like this high fantasy epic TV show, along with Leigh Bardugo's improved writing and improved like character and world development, helped give us a pretty fantastic adaptation. And here's what I think works for it. The first thing was integrating the Six of Crows storyline along with the Shadow and Bone storyline was just absolutely genius. While the Shadow and Bone trilogy did do really well on its own, like it was a huge New York Times bestseller and stuff, Six of Crows did a lot better in terms of like the fan base. People didn't like the characters in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, whereas people loved the characters in the Six of Crows duology. So I feel like including the characters from the Six of Crows duology was genius, because I was intrigued about the TV show only because Six of Crows characters were being included in it. So like it attracted that fan base. And B, and I think like the best thing that it did was that it helped expand the world. So like I said, the Shadow and Bone trilogy is mainly focused only on Ravka, whereas in Six of Crows we have Ketterdam, which is in Kerch, and we also have Fjerda. So I feel like combining these stories helped expand the world and just made it a lot more interesting because of that. The next thing that the TV show did an amazing job with was the Darklings character. Now I am going to be jumping into spoiler territory over here, so if you haven't watched the show, then skip to this like timestamp to avoid any spoilers. This is your last warning. I'm going to be talking spoilers, so skip to this timestamp if you haven't watched the show as yet. Okay, so one of my biggest disappointments of the book series was how the Darklings character was just not well developed. Like he started off in the book series being like this really mysterious, enigmatic shadow summoner. Like you didn't really know what was going on with him. He was very charismatic, but he was also very mysterious and hidden. And like I felt like Leigh Bardugo had the opportunity to make a really good, morally grey villain. But I feel like she just lost the development somewhere along the way. Like we did get a little bit of backstory about him, and we got a few motives of why he was doing what he was doing, because like, you know, he wanted to protect all Grisha. And like, I mean, he's really ancient and he's tired of the way Grisha have been treated, so he wants to help them. Like we did get those motives, but like honestly, it just felt like at one point he was like trying to be good, and then suddenly he became like the Dark Lord. Like he became Voldemort suddenly. And that just wasn't very convincingly written in the book series. But the TV show, in actually showing us the like the entire backstory of the Black Heretic, about how he was in love with the girl, of how he was really trying to protect Grisha, about why he decided to dabble with Mare Zost and all of that, like in actually showing us a little bit of his backstory and showing us the Darkling as a human character, I felt like I could empathize with the Darkling a lot more and really understand why he did what he did. The other thing that I really liked is how they called him General Kirigan instead of Darkling, because firstly, the minute you hear a character is named Darkling, you know that he's gonna be evil. Like, come on. The Darkling just makes him sound completely evil. So again, to give him a human name like General Kirigan or Alexander, to really humanize him, I felt like that helped kind of amp up the betrayal that Alina felt when she realized that he's actually trying to use the fold for evil. Like, it helped amp up that betrayal. And it also still, like, because you've humanized him, you still feel like, but at the end of the season, you still feel like, oh, is he actually evil? Maybe he has, like, better reasoning to do what he's doing. Like, I feel like that makes the perfect villain. Like, that makes such a more interesting villain than someone who you just hate and you know that that person is evil. Like, when you have this morally gray villain, it just makes it so much more interesting. The third thing that the TV show did brilliantly was that it built political intrigue. Now, one of my other critiques of the book series is that the entire Shadow and Bone book series is in first person. So it is literally just us listening to Alina's inner thoughts. The Six of Crows duology, on the other hand, is third person, and it keeps shifting perspectives between the different characters. So that helped in expanding the universe a little bit. But because the Shadow and Bone, the Grisha trilogy, is just Alina's inner thoughts and it's Alina talking in first person, we don't really get to see anything else apart from Alina being in the Little Palace and training to become the Sun Summoner. But with the TV show, we actually got to see different parts of Ravka. So there was an entire plot with West Ravka with General Zlatan, where they're trying to get independence. I thought that plot was amazing. There's another plot of Mal and all of his things that he's doing with the army. You actually get to see a war-torn Ravka, and you actually get to see all the trials and tribulations that the army goes through. So you see that. Plus you have the storyline of the crows, so you see them moving in different places around Ravka. So you just get to see a lot more of the world, and it just builds more political intrigue and political tension, and it makes the world seem more real than just Alina being stuck in the Little Palace in her own mind, thinking about which boy loves her more. I mean, okay, I'm probably bashing it a bit too much, but you know what I mean? It helped expand the world and make it a lot more politically rich and interesting, and I loved the TV show for doing that. And the last thing that I loved about the TV show was its cast. The cast members are just absolutely perfect. I could not have asked for a better cast to play these characters, because they play these characters with so much sincerity and so much love and so much passion, and you can actually see this cast actually gets along with each other. They have so much camaraderie and so much, I don't know, they just there's so much chemistry between them that they were just a joy to watch. Now let's go to the two things that I didn't like about the show. The first one was that I felt the pacing was really, really bad. I felt the show was extremely fast-paced, and for people who have not read the book series, I can assume that you were probably left a little bit confused in the first and second episode. I feel like they didn't have enough production budget to make this show longer. Probably Netflix didn't give them the production budget, because if each episode could have been 50 minutes and they would have had 10 episodes instead of 8, I felt that the pacing of the show would have been a lot better. We would have got a little bit more development and more room to breathe. The second thing that I didn't like about the show were some of the dialogues. Some of the dialogues are super cheesy and very dramatic for no reason. And there's also a lot of like use of flashbacks and callbacks to certain dialogues like constantly throughout the show, which was just a bit repetitive by the end. But to be honest, the cast members are so good. Like the cast are so good that even the cheesy dialogues, like you can forgive them because they say it with so much sincerity and passion that like they don't seem that cheesy, even though they are a little bit cheesy. But yeah, overall, Shadow and Bone, the TV show, I feel is the perfect example of an adaptation that takes the source material and just elevates it to the next level and really like, you know, brings out the true potential of what the book series could have been. And for that, I really think it is one of the best adaptations that I've watched. I really hope that this show gets renewed for a season 2 because I would love to watch multiple seasons of this show to see how the characters would be developed, especially the Six of Crows storyline. Yeah, it was an absolute treat to watch. And yeah, that was my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you watched the Shadow and Bone TV show or if you've read the book series. What are your thoughts? Please let me know. I'm in such a huge Shadow and Bone mood these days. Like, I am obsessed with the Grisha universe. I'm so obsessed with it right now. So please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below so we can chat and geek out about it together. And of course, do subscribe to my channel for more book related videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.